Nick, the worst thing on earth has happened.
What, Mike?
4 more people showed up for game night. We didn't know we had friends. Now we got to play games with 6 players.
You know what happens when you have 6 players and they refuse to split in 2 groups of 3, so you got to play a 6-player game?
Right, you know, when you have a group of just terrible people. No, I'm just kidding. You have a group and you want to keep the group together and play a game that can accommodate a lot of folks. So we're going to talk about games. So we actually really not only will tolerate 6 players, because we like smaller player counts in general, but we actually really want to play them at those higher player count
Yeah, I would say we prefer, like, really, I only want to play this game at this player count.
Absolutely. So this is going to be mostly games that cap at 6, a couple that go beyond 6 if you want to really get after it.
Yeah,
but here's games that
wild.
we don't mind playing at 6 player.
On number 6 is gonna be New York Slice. I love New York pizza. It's the best pizza out there. Don't at me in the comments. It's way better than Chicago pizza, which isn't pizza. Chicago pizza is a casserole. Fight me. Just want to start a flame war in the comments right away. New York Slice is a really good game, and it's really good at 6 player because this is a game where you have a pizza pie. You have a pie out there, and you are going to be splitting up this pizza. The pizza will be made of 11 different pizza-shaped pieces. It's actually a cool-looking game on top of that. And you are going to be splitting up this pie. It's an I Split You Choose game, and you're going to make different portions, one for every, for the player count. So if you have 6 players, you're going to make 6 portions out of this pizza. And you can make the portions however you want. You could do, like, I'm going to have 1 portion with 6, and then each other portion is just gonna have 1 piece of pizza. That's it. But you probably don't wanna do that because then after you split up the pizza however you want, the person to your left, the next player, they get to choose first, and then everyone gets to choose, and then you get to choose whatever's last. So you're gonna get left over whatever's there. So you can't make something too good or too good for you because you'll then just never get it. So there's like this mind game of trying to figure out what people want, what people don't want, trying to make things enticing for them so that you can actually get what you want. And this is a set collection game. There are different types of pizza that all have numbers. So like pepperoni pizza is number 10, which means there's 10 pieces of pepperoni pizza in the stack of pizza slices. Cheese pizza is the most prominent with 11. There's 11 of them. There's like Supreme Pizza, there's only 3 of those. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most of a type of pizza like pepperoni or Supreme, they will gain the points for that one. So if the Supreme, there's 3 slices. If you have the majority, you'll get 3 points. If you win the pepperoni, which has 10 slices, you will get 10 points. So you're just trying to get majority in these different things. So you can say, okay, I'm really going for like 7 or 8, which I think is mushroom pizza, which is the best pizza. And so I'm just like, okay, I already have 2 8s. Mike has 1. I want to make sure I give him something else so he doesn't take the mushroom. So maybe I can get a 3rd one, which puts me in a good place for a 6-player game. And it's just really, really fun. And this game particularly is great at 6 players because the more ways you have to split that pizza, the more it just melts your mind in a really cool way. This is ultimately like a 30-minute, kind of like filler-ish game, but it's got kind of a lot going on. And it's also pizza. Pretty much everyone likes pizza. It's just nice, and it's really fun at 6 players.
This game we really enjoy with higher player count is gonna be just 1. So this is a game where you are trying to get 1 player to guess a clue, and we all have to write a word that we think is related to that clue. So if the clue might be soccer, for example, I might write ball, someone else might write net, someone else might write, I don't know, Europe or something. And we all are trying to think of words that are gonna point to soccer, but we can't see what each other's writing. So if we ever have a situation where multiple people write ball, for example, we have to erase our answer so that when the person looks back around, only unique answers are going to be left over. So you wanna try to think of something that no one else is thinking of, but you also want it to be clear and clearly pointing back towards soccer or again, whatever the clue might be. So that is just like a simple little twist in the rules of like, how do I not say something too obvious, but obvious enough? And then you have that fun thing of like, we're both gonna say kind of a wacky answer, and then multiple people do that weird answer and no one did ball at all. And you're like, Well, now that feels a little silly. Like, why did we all go for that obscure reference to Ted Lasso or whatever it might be? But that is just a super fun game. I like that you're writing on boards that are raceable, so there's kind of an economy there of pieces and stuff. That is just one.
Number 8, I want to play with 6 or even more players, and this is Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. It might be the longest title ever because it's a mashup between Castles of Mad King Ludwig and Between Two Cities. Bézier and Stonemaier games kind of did a mashup with this game, and I actually really enjoy it. Because Between Two Cities, you're building a city with your neighbor to the right and neighbor to the left. Everyone will have 2 cities, and you're building them out together. And you're basically going to score the worst of either of your cities. And then Castles of Mad King Ludwig is kind of like a Suburbia sequel where you're essentially trying to build out this crazy castle and trying to score stuff, put certain things next to other things, trying to score it as best you can. And these two meld those 2 games really well. Where now you're building 2 castles, one on either side of you, and you're building it with your neighbor. And so that part, it's very Between Two Cities, but then it's got kind of all the bonkers craziness of Castles of Mad King Ludwig, because that castle is wild because it was made by like a mad king, and they really lean into that in the game. So this one, there's like a fungus room, and there's like all these weird rooms that want to be in these specific weird places. It's just odd, and I really enjoy it. So I really love the theming of that game, but I like the gameplay of Between Two Cities. And this mashes them in a really good way. But what I like about these games, and why I like playing at 6-player, because you only care about your 2 neighbors. You care about this person, and that's it. The person across from you doesn't matter. You'll never interact with them. You're not building a castle with them. It doesn't matter. And so the good thing is as you add more players, it doesn't necessarily add more time, and I want to see what everyone does with their castle. But what I like about the game the most is that you only score your worst castle. So there's not that like, ooh, I'm going to screw over this person right here, because you're then be screwing over yourself. So you need to build the best possible castle you can on both sides. So it's this weird like semi-co-op game where you're really trying your best on this castle and on this castle, because you need them to be the highest scores you possibly can, and then they're doing that with you and then their neighbor. And I just think that's a really interesting concept. This game is really fun, and I want that full 6 players because it's just cool to see what everyone did. It's kind of nice to see everyone kind of working together. It's just really fun.
Number 7 is Don't Mess with Cthulhu. This is a social deduction game with kind of like a cutesy Cthulhu theme, where you are trying to suss out who are investigators, who are cultists, and who's on what team. Now the investigators want to find these like elder signs and stuff, and if you're the cultist, you just want Cthulhu to show up once and for all and devour the universe. And you are doing this awesome thing where we're gonna have cards in front of us. We're gonna get to look at what cards we have at the start of the round. So maybe I have 2 elder signs among my 5 cards, call it. And the rest are just empty. There's empty rooms. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm an investigator, right? So I'm gonna shuffle up my cards and put them all face down in a row. So I do not know where anything is, I just know what I have. So this game does a great thing of creating natural suspicion amongst the players, because if I say, hey, pick me, look at one of my cards, I have 2 elder signs, and they happen to flip over one of the empty rooms, which is just possibly gonna happen because I don't know where they are, I all of a sudden look pretty suspicious. And they're like, why did you want me to waste a turn looking at your cards? What if one of your cards had Cthulhu on it? I don't know if I trust you anymore. And it's just luck that like they didn't get an elder sign. The chances were decently high that they would have, they just didn't. Similarly, if you're a bad guy and you have some elder signs, you can be like, hey, I've got 2 elder signs, look at my cards. And if they flip over an elder sign, you're looking really good all of a sudden, but you're not. So you can kind of hide well if you're a baddie. You end up looking kind of suspect if you're a goodie, and no one can really specifically parse out who is who. And I like that in these games because I enjoy the chaotic element of social deduction games, and one where everyone's gonna feel paranoid. And it's not just about, you better be a good liar, because like, not a lot of people, myself included, enjoy like using that skill. I don't want to be good at that skill. So the game here kind of takes you off the hook a little bit, and you can just, again, it's just a little easier to kind of let the game flow the way it should, where everyone's a little suspicious and worried of everyone else. That is, don't mess with Cthulhu.
Number 6, I feel like it comes up a lot, and that is key flow. This, again, I guess has become one of those kind of evangelism games. And I talked about this with Between Two Castles about King Ludwig. There are a lot of games like this where you kind of only care about your neighbors. And one thing I like about that is, again, it means the game length doesn't increase too much with more players. Now, you do have more people thinking, which means it will increase a little bit, but it's not too bad. But Key Flow is really good. This is a drafting, kind of a drafting version of Key Flower that we really enjoy, where you are gonna be building out a tableau of cards that are different kingdom cards, like a carpenter shop and like a blacksmith and things like that. And these cards you will activate, and then they will get resources on them, like gold, wood, stone, coal, things like that. Classic, you know, just classic board gamery stuff, right? And then you're gonna try to move around those resources to upgrade cards, or to put them onto scoring cards so that you could, like this card might be like, this is like the wood shop. So for every like 3 wood on there at the end of the game, you're gonna get a point. So you're trying to move stuff around like that. And you move it around through these Keeple cards, which are these cards with meeples on them. And wherever you put that card, it's gonna activate the building directly beneath it. And so you're activating stuff, but a lot of times on the Keeple cards, they have arrows pointing to the right and to the left. And what that means is that you get to activate something in your neighbor's kingdom. But it doesn't hurt them. It's not like you're taking it from them. You just go, I'm gonna activate that card, and they go, okay, and then you just get to do it. And so again, you only care about your neighbors because you can't activate something across the table. You can only activate it to the left and to the right. That's it. So you just don't need to worry about what they're doing over there. It's a really fun game. And again, kind of like Between Two Castles, I like games where the time of the game doesn't increase that much with more players, and then I just enjoy playing those games with more players because you get to see what everyone else is doing, you get to talk more, it's just more fun. So I'm like, if I can have more players and not increase the time, I'm gonna do it. And with Key Flow, we've played this game at the full 6, and it's really fun and pretty darn simple and easy. And so I really like Key Flow. It's an absolute banger, and it's also really good at 6.
Number 5 is kind of an intro, simplistic-ish version of 7 Wonders called 7 Wonders Architects. This gives you all the flavor of 7 Wonders, which is a classic, fantastic, civilization-themed card drafting game. And it puts you into the similar shoes where you are representing a nation and stuff, but now, rather than worrying about all these different elements, you are trying to gain resources to build your kind of wonder, your world wonder. It might have like the pyramids of Egypt. It might be my world wonder. And you are trying to get that built as quickly as possible. The things I like about this game is it gives you all the stuff that you see in the 7 Wonders games. There's science and things like that, and culture cards, you can still get those, and military and things like that. But in terms of what you build, it either comes down to I need 3 different resources or 3 of the same resource. So I don't necessarily need to be like hoping for wood or hoping for stone. I just need 3 different things, 3 of the same things. Those costs usually escalate the higher up you get on completing that wonder of yours that you are architecting, which is a technical term. And I just enjoy that because people can understand that more simply than a card that requires 2 wood and a stone, and if you can't pay wood, you gotta pay X amount of money. It just gets to be a bit too much for some people, but 7 Wonders Architects smooths that out and creates a nice, fast little gameplay experience with a super nice components where everyone's cards and your bits for your wonder are all contained in a tray. So it's just really easy to get going with. And makes a nice intro point for like kind of 7 Wonders series, which there's a ton of fantastic stuff to explore. So I love that we now have a really rock solid place to begin with that. That is 7 Wonders Architects.
Number 4 is a deduction game called Detective Club, and I want to play this game with 6 people, but 6 is kind of the specific amount I want to play with, and this is why. With more, because I think the game goes up to 8, but with 8 it starts getting a little bit longer, a little crazier, but 6 is kind of a good sweet spot because this is a game where one person is going to have, everyone has cards, these kind of big tarot cards with like this kind of trippy dream art on it. It's really pretty game. And one person is going to write a clue on these notepads. And that clue is going to pertain to the cards that they're gonna play out. So if they're gonna play out these 2 cards with a lot of like water on them, they might put like water. And then they're gonna write this clue on every one of these notepads except for 1, and they're gonna divvy out these notepads to everyone. They're gonna shuffle them up, divvy them out randomly. So that means everyone is gonna have the clue except for 1 person. And so that 1 person then doesn't know what the clue is. And so you need to try and not get found out if you're that 1 person. And so then everyone is going, and then the person who wrote the clue is gonna put out a card. And then the next person puts out a card that again relates to that clue. So they might put out a card with like a bathtub on it, because bathtub, water, water, bathtub. And then the next person puts out a card, and then everyone puts out 1 card, and then the person who started the thing with the clue puts out a 2nd card. Everyone puts out a 2nd card, and then the person who wrote the clue says the clue out loud. They say the clue was water. And then starting to the person on the left and going around, everyone has to explain why their cards point to the clue of water. And why I love this game is because with deduction games like this, social deduction games specifically, I want the traitor, the whatever they are, and this person, the player who didn't have the clue, they need a way to hide. And so they are getting to see everyone put out cards, and then they're putting out cards. So they can say like, oh man, okay, a bathtub, this person put out a card with an ocean. Maybe the clue has something to do with water. And so they're like, I'm gonna put out a card with water just to kind of hedge my bets, because you can see what everyone else is putting out. And then they even say the clue is water, and then you have to describe your stuff. And so you then know what the clue is. You don't have to try and guess it. And then you basically have to state your case. This is why my cards point to water. Sometimes it's easier than others. But why this game is great, and great at 6, is because you want more opportunities to try and suss out what the thing is. But again, with more than 6, it starts bogging down a little bit, in my opinion at least. And so it's just really, really fun, because also sometimes you might know the clue and you just have no good cards. And you're like, oh my gosh, the card is water. I have no cards that even remotely point to water. So sometimes you can look really suspicious even if you knew what the clue was. It's an absolute blast. Play it with 6 specifically. It just sings at that player count. It's so much fun. We'll talk about this game forever. It's great.
Number 3 is Downforce. This is a game, racing game and betting game where you are trying to have your car come in first, second, or third, ultimately in a race to win some money. But you also can place bets on either your car or your opponent's cars, depending on how the race is sort of going, to try to hedge your bets, because ultimately the player with the most money wins the game. So this is a game where you are going to initially draft out each car. There are 6 cars. All 6 cars are always going to be in the game. And this is why we really like it at 6 players, because at 6 players, everyone gets 1 car. You're trying to get that car across the finish line, and you are going to determine which car you hopefully will win and go for it based on the hand of cards you get to start the game. You can see I've got a lot of stuff that helps me with orange. I'm gonna really try to bid high to win the orange card, because I think I have the best control over my fate if I get that car. But you gotta pay money for it. You gotta have the highest bid, and that is a negative against your score at the end of the game. So how do I not go too deep into a hole before we even begin the game? And then again, cars can block each other, and you can end up with your car way in the back because everyone is blocking you and making their cars go forward. And that's the case, like, well, green's looking really good. I've got even cards that help green go ahead. I'm gonna start betting on green now. And I'm going to literally try to get them across the finish line first, because I'll get some more money out of it if I do that. And if I can manage to kind of rally and get my car up onto the podium as well, all the better. So I just love that you don't have to bet on your own car. If you're playing a lower player count game, the game works great because you always do have 6 cars, and you might have players who have multiple cars. But I like it at 6, everyone gets 1 car. You're making the bets as best you can. You're trying to get as ahead as best you can. It's just so fantastic. It works so well. It's super quick. It's just 1 lap around. Cannot be beat. Downforce is awesome.
Number 2 is gonna be Libertalia, and you can choose Libertalia, the new one or the old one. They're both great. And Libertalia is a simultaneous role selection game where you are gonna have a series of pirates, and those pirates are all gonna have certain abilities, and they also have certain ranks. So like the captain is like the top ranked person, and then the guy who's Weeps the Poop deck is like the worst ranked one. You know, basically, you understand what I'm saying. I couldn't think of another pirate. So the Poop deck guy, you know what I'm talking about. So, and then basically there is going to be treasure tiles that are out, and every day you're going to be putting out everyone's going to secretly choose a card, put it out, and then you're going to rank them. And then in order of rank, you're gonna get to grab this treasure. But all of these cards do certain things. They might change up the rank, they might take out a person. They do a whole bunch of different stuff, really, really mess with the game. But why this game is fun, and why this game particularly is fun at 6, is you want kind of that, as much of that cross messing with each other as possible, because everyone has this same deck of cards. So everyone has the captain, everyone has this, and you don't have there's like 30 different cards. You don't have all of them at once. You're gonna have them essentially in different groups, but everyone's gonna have the same group. So you're like, ooh, do I play this one now or do I play it later? Do I play it now or do I play it later? And that choice in games is always so delicious, I think. I think it's so much fun, that kind of, okay, I'm gonna play it now. And then, someone else played it. Okay, that's not good. And it's just really, really fun. But each round, you're not gonna use all of the cards. You're gonna use, I think, like 5 of them or something like that. You're gonna have like 2 left over. So people will have different 2s left over. And so as the game goes on, maybe you held onto a card from the first round that you know no one has left. And so you can play in the 3rd round and then do something cool with it. It's really good, but at 6 players, it's just fun because you want that kind of like tension to happen. And you want that kind of like running into each other where you both play the captain at the same time and you're like, no, I need it. Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. We'll make this work. It's really, really fun. I really like that. And that's one of those games where I just want a bunch of people because I want that chaos, and Libertalia is great.
So we mentioned Downforce earlier, and I said it couldn't be beat. Well, it can be beat by a couple things. One being Heat, Pedal to the Metal, another racing game. Racing games work well with those higher player count games because you want as many cars on the road as possible. Do you create as many opportunities for slipstreams and blockage as possible? And this takes your car and stuff into your own hands with the hand of cards you have. You are going to be dealt out. There's all sorts of game modes you can play and stuff. I'll talk about the kind of basic game here. You're going to have a hand of cards, 7 cards on your turn, and you're going to choose a gear to be in. You can shift up or down. You can shift ultimately up or down by 2 gears to the max. You have gears 1 to 4. And say I'm in 3rd gear, that's going to determine how many cards I must play from my hand to my player board in front of me. And then once I flip up all those cards, that'll determine the sum total of those values. Say I have 1, 3, and 4. That's going to determine how far I go. So 1, 3, and 4 equals 8. I move 8 spaces forward. If I'm in a lower gear, I'll play fewer cards, which might control me a little bit better and slow me down, which will be good because as you come across turns, there's basically going to be a limit that you can have speed-wise when you go through that turn. So if I have an area where I'm going through a curve and I can only go 5 worth of movement through that curve, and I'm going through on 8, I have an overage of 3 that I need to pay for, but I can pay for it if I have heat in my engine. On your little player board, there's a section where you can place heat, and you can pay heat from your engine, which means your engine is kind of helping slow you down and control you through that turn. But if I ever have a situation where I can't pay all of that heat and I run out, then I spin out and I have to go back before the curve line and start kind of again. I shift down to gear 1. It's punishing in different ways. And you also get these stress cards, which are including random elements because that's you having lapses in your concentration. It's super fun to kind of mitigate that. Like, when do I really turn and burn? I can go into a turn in 3rd or 4th gear because I might have cards that have 0, 1, 1, 2 or something. So I'm playing 4 cards, but only moving like 4 spaces. So maybe I can go through this turn at a super high gear or pay with heat to kind of compensate so that I can stay in a high gear. So when we come out of that turn, I can really hit the gas and just keep right on going. So there's that wonderful kind of risk mitigation in the game where How much am I willing to push this? There's a kind of currency with that heat. How do I get heat back into my engine? You ultimately have to shift down into your lower gears to get heat back into your engine so that I can kind of shift up again when it's time. So that kind of shifting up, shifting down, speeding up, slowing down, and how you work it with the hand management is super, super interesting. There's AI bots. You can always kind of play a 6-player game with these easy to control AI racers and stuff. So you can always kind of play that full player count game, even if you don't have that many people around the table. That is heat, pedal to the metal.
So those are our top 10 games that we would prefer at 6 or maybe even more if the game can go more than that. Sorry, Caverna. I don't want to play it at 6.
You're not it, man.
My favorite game in the world is Viticulture. I don't want to play it at 6.
No.
I just don't want to.
But there are games we do.
That's okay. But nonetheless, let us know down in the comments below, what are some games you like at those higher player counts, 6 or above? Let us know down in the comments, because I do think you need a couple of those games, right? Because sometimes you're like, everyone's like, let's all play a game together, and you're like, we can split in groups, but all right, it's fine, we'll play it together.
It's fun to keep the group together and everyone have the same shared experience. So we do like to do it sometimes. We just are a little choosy personally in what games we like to do that with. But let us know in the comments below all the games you like playing those big, boisterous player counts.
Yeah, indeed. Until next time, I'm Nick.
I'm Mike.
We're the Brothers Murph. We'll see you later, everybody.
Bye.